Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome back. Today we have Gumiho in the top left as our blue Terran player. On the bottom right, spawning as the red Protoss, playing for Team Alpha X. It is Astrea. Alright, Astrea back in action over here. I do believe that he has decided to take a bit of a step back from StarCraft, but still seems to be somewhat active in these tournaments. So we have a pretty standard opener coming out of our North American Protoss player. Our American Protoss player, actually. And, ooh, Gumiho with a double gas. Not surprising, given that this is Gumiho, but surprising, given that it's a Terran versus Protoss. Double gas openers have fallen largely out of fashion, due to Protoss players understanding how to properly deal with it, and this giving Terran a bit of an econ disadvantage. Gumiho either believes that he has, you know, the holy grail of 2-gas builds, or he doesn't believe that Astrea has the holy grail of builds against the 2-gas. Late scout with a core first into Nexus, reactor first, full wall. This is a very odd build order opener. This is TVT-esque in a way. Something you don't really see in the Terran versus Protoss matchup. I'm gonna pay close attention to the gas mining, as we indeed see Gumiho staying in gas mining with a significant amount of workers here, making me believe that he wants to start pumping out Reapers from this reactor barracks at a very high pace. Now Astrea with his late scout is not aware that this is a 2-gas opener. This could technically be a single gas. He literally has no clue. Could be single gas with a high ground CC. Perhaps he's going to get a little bit of information here if Gumiho decides to lower that depot and maybe try and build a CC on the low ground. Doesn't quite seem to be the case. No, here we go. Astrea gets the scout in, sees the factory timing, and will immediately notice that this is 2-gas and that there's continued mining in the 2-gas. Stargate goes down. I don't think this is as a response. This is just a relatively safe opener in general. I think batteries will need to be thrown down here at a very high pace. Battery in the main base for starters. I think that's a good play, because it's going to be a very aggressive push out here, coming out of our South Korean Terran player. Double batteries. Look at the delay on this warp gate as well, right? Usually you'd see this started already, but full priority here on batteries, probes, and units. And I think this is actually the correct call. I really don't mind that. Reapers do jump up the moment the shade disappears. A little bit lucky there for Gumiho. A little bit unlucky there for Astrea. The battery will provide a lot of value, defensive value. Same time the battery in the natural doing the same exact thing here. The third adept is on the way and the first oracle is on the way out. It's going to be 4 Reapers, 2 Hellions, and a Dream. And that is going to be it. CC has pretty much finished up, but this CC was very delayed. Quick third gas as well coming out right now. This could be for a Tank Raven combination, but it almost feels like a Fusion Core play. Almost. But perhaps it isn't. Triple Reapers. Can't quite get through that battery. 4 Reapers can. That's why we saw 2 workers fall here. Not fail. Well, the workers also failed at staying alive. I don't think that's as much a personal failure as a failure out of Astrea, who decides to take a fast third base. Now this feels unsafe, but I don't think it is. And let me explain that. His opponent just used his initial reactor rather than for marine production for pure Reaper production. That means there's not going to be that many marines, which means a follow-up push is not going to hit very hard. There can be technical follow-up pushes, mine drops, like a tank drop. This is very uncommon, but I guess it is playable. Or things like just any type of like minor harassment. But a real follow-up push is almost impossible. So if Astrea is quick here in his responses, in his reactions to this very odd push, may I say, I think he's going to be in a great position. Oracles are coming in with the help right now. Tank will need to be lifted up and will be put into this medevac. Phoenix does pop out here, and that could potentially mean that this medevac is in a little bit of trouble. Third base is about to finish up. Just look at the contrast between these two players here. We have one dude pumping marines from a single barracks on 2 bases, barely saturated, 28 workers total, against someone who is going up to 4 gateways right now, has Blink on the way, has a third base basically done. I think Gumiho looks at this situation and thinks to himself, there's only one thing I can do, and that's move across the map and try to win the game. But this push hardly has any Marines due to that early game that I mentioned. This could have had way more. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still possible to win as there's currently 0 gateway units out. Warp Gate has been delayed long and perhaps even a little bit too long. Lots of Chrono Boost are being thrown down on it right now. Stasis Ward is going to connect with a significant portion of this army. This Stasis Ward might be the saving grace here for Astrea, who's pumping out a Void Ray. He's trying to stay alive here. I'm not so sure if he can. There is one Stalker out. That's going to be helpful, but it's not going to be the end of this push. Bunker being built in the far back. Out of range of any super batteries as well. That could be a problem. When's that first warping coming? Here we go. Gateways are done now. We have 4 Stalkers, 1 Zealot. Blink halfway done. Don't forget, losing the third base does not necessarily mean that this game is over. There's no extra production here on the side of Gumiho. Oracles could move across the map and go for a counterattack. If you keep your probes alive and keep your natural, I actually think Astrea is still in a winning position. Does decide to move in though. Goes for the snipe on one tank. Goes for the snipe on the second tank as he lifts it up. Oracles do stay alive. That loses a lot of damage output here. That means that Stalkers can now kind of kite away versus those Marines. Super Battery gets activated. And this Void Ray is on absolute crack because of it. Liberator will not quite get targeted down as the repair was good. Almost as good as a Super Battery, but not quite. Will get killed in the end here. 54 workers to 42 right now, but 69 supply against 70. That means that Gumiho's supply is magnificent. I'd love to see a counterattack with these Oracles and Astrea just giving up this base. If he keeps his probes alive, it might actually be okay. His production is superior. His worker count is superior. Like, what does Gumiho actually have? He has these units. That's it. That's where Gumiho shines right now. 2 extra barracks are being added at home, and Gumiho, he was dead in this game, right? I think if Warp Gate had finished at a slightly more normal time, a little bit quicker, this wouldn't have been a game. We get a snipe on the Cyclone. It's not going to be enough. So Astrea tries to destroy this position, but I'm not sure if this is it. It's so hard to call games like this because you gotta really look at everything here. Stim and combat are going to be very delayed. Unit production is going to be slow. Very slow here for Gumiho. Gumiho has 2 random depots here as well, which will end up falling as these Marines do die too. There are tanks here. Double E-base on the way. Going up to 5 barracks, so follow-up will be a tank all in. Okay, is this triple E-bay? What was that? Yeah, it was triple E-bay. Okay, I was like, this makes no sense. I'm already seeing 2 E-bays over here. As he goes up to... Oh, I thought this was a barracks, but it's a refinery. He's like, wait, is that 6 racks? No, it's just another gas, Kevin. It's just another gas. Calm down. Astrea's supply is good. Has a lot of these oracles remaining. 2 oracles, which is great, not only for vision, but also for delaying any incoming pushes. But that tank is just barely in range here on the edge. That's cool. There comes a revelation. Perhaps there's an attack possible. Nah. Maybe towards the mineral line, one could say. Ooh. Tried to deny that Marine from activating the stasis, but failed at that. 3rd tank is now out. I think, yeah, Astrea will be forced into blinking down here. Which is probably the correct call. 57 workers. Double expansion. Double expansion, Astrea. Is this what we want against the 5 racks? Is this what we need against the 5 racks? I don't know. If you can snipe 1 or 2 of these Marauders, that would be huge though. 1 Marauder does go down. That is real nice. I love that type of stuff. Denying Marauder count with a Stalker composition is always great. In general, clearing these... Tech Labs was also fantastic because it was going to be a very heavy Marauder comp. Otherwise, a couple of Marines will get taken out. Every unit counts at this point. There is no upgrades coming out here for Astrea. That means if this push kind of hits a 130, 140 supply mark out of Gumiho, and then he attacks with 1-1 against 0-0, that could be a problem here for the American player. Is getting a Robo-Bay. So the Robo-Bay will be the showstopper in a way, you know? Whenever you're playing against a 2-base all-in, you always want to have a definitive showstopper. And whether that's going to be your 2-2 upgrades, or Storm, or Colossi, or Disruptors, it doesn't really matter, but you need something. Archons can sometimes also do that job if the supplies aren't too high and if Ghosts aren't out. but you need something. And Astrea here is aiming at, I think, Colossi or perhaps just a really fast Disruptor. Both of these options are valid. This is a weird attack though here out of Astrea, right into an all-in. This is not how you want to engage yet. This is definitely not how you want to engage. I think he's trying to win some time. I think there's different ways to win time. I'm thinking run-bys. I'm thinking cutting off reinforcements here. You have a base to sack, as it's 4 base against 2 base. Means you'll still have an econ lead. This is a really nice move. If you can take out these tanks, that would be huge. That makes this marine army so much weaker. There is still 2 tanks with this, as these SCVs are like, well, actually, now that we're here, these minerals look real tasty. The grass is always greener on the other side of the street, of course, as Zealot's still taking out every single reinforcement possible. This Colossi will never see the light of day. Stims need to be used carefully as well, as... Oh, that's a lot of Zealots, but they're all in the main base, not necessarily in a great position. This ramp is going to function as a massive funnel. Hold position on these SCVs is doing God's work right now. And I think that Gumiho is taking an absolutely magnificent fight. The question isn't whether this fight was magnificent, the question is whether it is enough. And I think the answer to that is no. The final matter of fact does get sniped. Astrea in a firm lead now. GG gets called and he holds. And he stays alive. What an odd game. What an odd game here in game number 1 on Dragon Skills. Very quick scout here. Coming out of Astrea. It is quick, but it ain't quick enough here to block that barracks. It's going to get in though. See what his opponent is up to. Okay, hello, that's a barracks on the ramp. That means there's no barracks on my side of the map, most likely. Which is already interesting information. Every piece of info you can get in this matchup is a welcome piece of information. As a Protoss player, cannot stress that enough. This probe is being chased around here by an SCV. Bum ba dum bum 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 bum. Can he drill him one more time? Come here, buddy. No? Shields come back. Alright, now it's the turn for the SCV to run away. Yeah, I ain't staying here no longer. The time of chasing, my friends, is over. Nexus before core. This is really interesting, a little bit odd, perhaps even. If you go for an extremely quick scout, it means you have less minerals, and it means that if you play Nexus before core, that your core is further delayed than it usually even would be. So yes, you do get the information in time, whether you can get away with a Nexus before core, but a lot of Protoss still do not like playing it, because you have so little minerals, and your first adept will be very delayed. Ancient Cistern is a very large map. That means that the Reaper takes a long time to get across the map as well. But it still can give some trouble. And more importantly, it often gives a free scout for the Terran as well. Telling the Terran, hey, this is what you're doing. Either Twilight or a Stargate. Now, a lot of Protoss players would look at an opener like this and say, this is 100% going to be Stargate. But I've actually seen Astrea play a lot of Twilight openers with a Nexus before core. That's indeed what he's going for again as well here. Just get phenomenal eco with it and kind of take it from there. Now, Reaper should have been capable of seeing by the Nexus timing, finishing at around, what is it, like 433, 434. Saying like, hey, that Nexus is way too quick. I think I can poke in and get a scout. The fact that Gumiho didn't go for that kind of disappoints me a little bit, because you do get that free scout against Nexus before core. That is a given. This is not something we can discuss. You know, this is a fact. You can always get that scout. You can always see what's kicking off. At least you can see the cybernetics core. Maybe you can't dive deep enough for the Twilight Council, but if you see Warpgate being researched, most of the time, that means it's going to be Twilight Council and not a Stargate opener, which is really the thing you care most about. Now, Marauders are moving across the map, and I'm starting to fear a little bit here for a good friend Astrea. This might be the first time where I see this build actually work out as well. Reaper into Marauder. This Marauder makes its way across the map. This Reaper could try to jump in towards the main. It is going to jump in towards the main. Double batteries now being constructed on the low ground. And this might be annoying to deal with. It's going to be 3 workers that will end up falling, as 2 batteries are still being constructed. Was this worth it? 50 minerals from the batteries, a natural delay in the build because you got confused. You know, you see the robotics facility is delayed. If you wanted to build a robo facility, instead it's going to be a late sentry. Nexus will be thrown down here, and the follow-up is going to be a 3-racks tank push. So this is one of the strongest pushes that a Terran player can go for. But against this particular opener, I actually think that Astrea wouldn't completely mind playing against it. He gets scouting information with this hallucination, which should allow him to move across the map here. Should allow him to move across the map with a bunch of stalkers and say, hey, I have stalkers. I can do whatever I want. I can be on your side. I can kite you all the way back home. You know, you have 5, 6, 7, 8 stalkers there. That's a big deal. Get batteries at home. Maybe pump out a couple of immortals. You know, it's something that is realistic here in my mind. So the first thing I am expecting here is a straight up move out. Maybe even with the sentries as well. Like if you can guard a ramp like this, that would be huge. That would be freaking massive. +1 is on the way. Stim is on the way. Combat shield is on the way. Yeah, he's actually going to guard this ramp, which is kind of cute. I love the split up here with this adept as well, moving towards the side. The only problem that Astrea might have is that he's not in the correct position to kite this army. So he sees this initial move out. It's like, hey, wait a second. I'm out of position. Where's my stalker count? Warping in zealots instead? This seems interesting. Potentially incorrect. Uh-oh, Astrea moving towards the incorrect ramp right now once again to hold on. Gets scanned. He's like, wait, where's your army? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, wait a second. Cyclone's gonna lock on to this immortal. Double tanks will siege up. There's not a single battery here in the natural. Stim hasn't even finished yet. This is the weirdest push-out timing. Gotta hand it to Gumiho. This is an absolute anti-timing. Before Stim, before combat, before +1. And here comes the probe pool. Target fire on the sentries is good. Probes, well, if they don't die, this might still be okay here as a whole. Probes continue chasing. And that's a cleanup. That is absolutely a cleanup. Worker counts are similar, but Robo Bay is practically done. That blink forward was a mistake. I'm not a huge fan of how he did that. But everything else was perfect. Gateway count is looking healthy. Tech is looking healthy. He is on 3 bases. He's pumping out those probes right now, one by one. The only thing he's lacking is perhaps a +1 upgrade of some sort and charge. I'm not so worried about the lack of forge upgrade. I'm worried about charge in particular a lot more. If you have Colossus, it's not so bad to not have upgrades very quickly, because against higher marine counts initially, you're just going to be fine anyway. You can always add a double forge later on and usually be somewhat okay. This was nice target fire out of Astrea, but even better control out of Gumiho. He literally just fought, what was it, 2 Marauders and a Medevac versus 4 Stalkers, and he's going to get away with a forced recall and killing 3 Stalkers, losing 2 Marauders. That was a very nice trade for him. I'm happy for him. And I'm happy for us, because it makes it more likely that we are going to get a game number 3 here. Because let's face it, Gumiho's position isn't so great in this game. Charge is on the way first indeed, as we have the first Colossus right now coming out as well. That first Colossus is an absolute game changer. I would have loved to see a Prism, but I don't think the cash is there. I don't think the Robo time was there either, but I would have loved to see it. As in, like, if he could have spawned one instantly, that might have been worth it. I completely understand why Astrea didn't go for it here. He's probably afraid of the initial push, and he needs a Colossus against that. He needs it. Single forge, perhaps somewhat surprising. Majority of the time, when you see these late forges, you see them come, well, 2 at a time, in order to kind of catch up in the upgrade department, because otherwise you're just going to be playing from behind the entire game. Maybe he's thinking of like a +1 into 2-1 type of situation rather than a 1-1 into 2-2 situation. That is possible, so you add another forge at the end of the +1 research. That is a relatively common move to kind of match up those upgrades. Gumiho, though, has a fairly fierce army. This is only 4 gases out of Astrea, 63 workers. Does have a fort base. Things will be kicking off at some point. Good run-bys here are being set up as well. This is so frustrating to deal with if you're a Terran player. Mine's being split up. Yeah, nice try. Good luck getting in there, buddy. Huh? Enjoy yourself. Look at the lack of vision that Astrea is working with, though. This entire middle area is fairly blind. He's trying to gather some information on where his opponent's army is. This should trigger, yeah, the Zealot run in. The moment you see an entire army like that, it's clear as day what you need to do. And that's send in the Zealots. 4cc is on the way here, as well as an armory. Do we have a second eBay? Not yet. That's going to be, I think, a saving grace here for Astrea. Astrea actually caught out of position. This is what I was talking about. Complete lack of information on the top side of the map. And that means he could actually just lose this base. Will be forced to recall. I almost want to tell Gumiho to fight, but it's so scary. You don't know what's coming back with that recall, right? It's not like you see it materialize in front of your eyes. No, it comes back and then you run for your life, or you already need to have made the decision to run. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of units against those colossi lasers. 3 ghosts are out, +2 should start ASAP. I really think getting a second eBay would be brilliant here for Gumiho. There is a prism out at this point, which is fairly helpful. This army is just really, its task is to take out vision on the right side of the map, and it's doing a fabulous job at that. And now perhaps seeing this army here, Gumiho can send in that drop. This is not a fight that Astrea can take, I think. Ghosts are around. This micro is, well, the opposite of phenomenal. It's pretty crap. These Colossus were taking a lot of damage. Vikings now showing up as well. The drop on the other side, rather than going in, tries to get back home, but I don't even think that was really necessary, as, well, Gumiho is just completely owning this fight. GG gets called. Gumiho takes map number 2, and as a result will tie up this series, forcing the 3rd game. Number 3 here on Royal Blood. Ooh, no warp gate. Oh no, there is warp gate. Never mind. Just forgot for a second. There's a pylon over here as well. I don't know why, but I just like this type of stuff. It looks so stupid. It's so beautiful at the same time. What does this really achieve, you know? You look at this and you think to yourself, what did I just do? I sometimes also do things like this. You build a pylon on the other side because you think it's cool, but what's the point really? Like, this isn't blocking very much, is it? This barracks could just move away from the wall now, and then later you fill this hole up with another depot and just build a quick reactor. I guess you don't want to get scouted, maybe, as a Terran? Is that it? I guess. But you could have just built the tech lab out of vision of the pylon, and then you wouldn't have gotten scouted either. Gumiho showing that this is a Cyclone first is kind of wild, by the way. I had not expected that at all. Or at least that it's a tech lab first. Of course, we know it's a Cyclone. That doesn't mean that Astrea knows it's a Cyclone. Fast second barracks as well. Oh, now we're playing build orders. I don't know what this is at all. I've never seen this in my life. This is a Cyclone rush, which is kind of going to work out as there's no Stargate, so that's nice. The Robo has been spotted as well. So both players are fairly aware of what the other one is doing. Oh, he's gonna... There's no way. For a second I thought he was gonna use the Cyclone to kill like a gateway with high ground vision. That would be world's most insane play. It's going to be Cloak Banshee. He scouts a Robo first, and his response is to go for a Cloak Banshee. I kind of like it. I kind of do. No, oh my god! You can't be serious. He's a genius. He's a genius. He's so... Wow. Okay, so his entire plan is centered around sniping observers. He's probably just gonna move one rank back now. He's just gonna patrol over here, wait for the next observer, isn't he? Yeah, he's like, okay, all right, I sniped an observer from here. He'll expect the Cyclone here. Gonna put the Cyclone further back. Another observer makes his way across the map. If he finds this, first person here, out of Gumiho. Let's have a look. What are you doing, buddy? What are you doing? I mean, the Banshee is out already. The Banshee is out already. He's looking for it. Look, he's crawling in. He's going in and out, going in and out. Now, the Banshee has been spotted here by the sentry. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Astrea saw it, though. I think he might have. Banshee does come in. Cloaking field has finished up. Oh my god, this move was so fun. So interesting. What a cool move. I'm so sad it didn't work out. Astrea, rather than going across the map with the second observer, decided to scout with a hallucination instead. And that saves him this game. This game would have been straight up over, but it might still be over. Look at the push that we're seeing here. There's nothing to delay the move out. This Banshee forced all the Stalkers at home. There is a Colossus. We have Sentries. We have Stalkers. We have no third base yet. Raven now being added into the mix. This is a third base killer, but there's no third base. The purpose of this build has been beaten by the fact that the Protoss decided to skip the third. It's a rare move. It's a very rare move. So rather than killing the third base, he says, "Oh, what about the Cyber Core and a gateway?" It's also fine. I can take that out. Is this Cloak Banshee still looking for damage as it shift clicks in towards the natural, where now a cannon is present. Archon is being hallucinated here. But it ain't real, my friend. Do not worry about it. Cloak Banshee moves forward. Oh, this bad boy is actually getting some damage on. Nice hold position in this base. Astrea not paying attention. Believed he was safe with a cannon. Loses 8 workers. Oh no, Astrea falling apart. Astrea falling apart here. Too many things happening for him. There's too many things happening. Raven has shown up as well to snipe any potential observers that are still flying around. If he gets that observer, that would be hilarious. Yeah, look, he's aiming. Pop! Dish, dish. There you go, Mr. Observer. You have officially been taken out. Next observer is still here, though. This push dealt so much more damage than anyone would have dreamed, hoped, or anticipated. This Robo is in range of the tank. This Banshee is shooting the Robo as well. If this Robo dies, there's no more Colossus production. That probably means that the game is over. This Robo is going to die. That is bad news here. That is real bad news. Banshee still around as well. Up there, hasn't been taken out. Raven could survive this. Oh my god, the one Colossus that was there has been taken out. This is game. This is game. This has been the weirdest push. The third base killer accidentally kills Astrea altogether. Gumiho's micro there was insane. For a second I thought he was gonna like Manor command center or something like that. Like a proxy command center for Bender to show his opponent that the game is over. So that's going to be an eBay block here on the third base. This is disrespect. It's nothing but disrespect here. We have 3 tanks. We have no medevacs. Gumiho sees that he's up an entire base. He's like, alright, all I need to do is defend and not die. Gumiho decides to move out across the map because he doesn't care about the rules, alright? He looks at this situation and sees something else. He sees an opportunity to get his opponent out of the game faster. Gumiho has business to attend to. Got stuff to do this afternoon. Got a game of pickleball planned. That's what he wants to do. Whoop, look at this. Poof, poof. Batteries got taken out. Now pylons are under heavy fire. I mean, there's just nothing here. There's no Colossus. There's no charge. There's no blink. There's one Immortal. But he won't cut it. Game, set, and match here in this best of 3 between Gumiho and Astrea. As this command center was going on a little journey towards the end of the game. And that, my dear friends, is going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this series. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Bye bye.